At some point in life, many people experience a profound change in how they perceive the world and themselves. It's as if a veil is removed from their eyes, revealing a broader and more meaningful reality. This phenomenon, known as spiritual awakening, marks the beginning of a transformative journey that can last a lifetime. Spiritual awakening is not a linear path, but rather a spiral of evolution. Each individual follows a unique trajectory, influenced by their experiences, culture, and personality. However, there are common elements that unite the human experience in this journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Imagine an ascending spiral, where each turn represents a new level of understanding and consciousness. As we advance, we revisit familiar themes and challenges, but with a higher perspective and a deeper understanding. This image of the spiral helps us understand why we sometimes feel like we're facing the same problems repeatedly. In fact, we're addressing similar issues at a deeper level of consciousness. Throughout this spiral journey, we can identify 5 main stages of spiritual awakening. It's important to emphasize that these stages are not rigid or linear. We can move between them, sometimes experiencing aspects of various stages simultaneously. The goal is not to reach a final stage, but to continue evolving and expanding our consciousness throughout life. Let's explore each of these 5 stages of spiritual awakening, remembering that each person may experience them uniquely and at their own pace. The stage of unconsciousness. The first stage of spiritual awakening is, paradoxically, characterized by a lack of spiritual awareness. At this point, the person is deeply immersed in the material world and strongly identified with their ego. The ego, in this context, is not something negative, but rather the set of beliefs, memories, and experiences that form our personal identity. In this stage, people tend to react automatically to life events without much reflection or questioning. Emotions and thoughts govern their experiences, and there's a tendency to see the world through a narrow lens, focused primarily on their own needs and desires. A person in the unconsciousness stage is usually concerned with material and social issues such as status, professional success, physical appearance, and accumulation of possessions. There's not necessarily anything wrong with these concerns, but at this stage they tend to dominate the person's life, leaving little room for deeper or spiritual matters. It's common at this stage for people to seek happiness and fulfillment mainly through external sources: a new job, a relationship, material possessions. There's an underlying belief that if they can achieve certain goals or acquire certain things, they'll finally feel complete and satisfied. However, even at this stage of apparent unconsciousness, moments of restlessness or dissatisfaction can arise. There may be a vague feeling that something is missing, even when all external goals are achieved. These moments of discomfort are often the first seeds of spiritual awakening. It's important to note that being at this stage doesn't mean the person is selfish or superficial. Many people at this stage are kind, ethical, and concerned about others. The difference is that these positive qualities usually arise from a sense of duty or social convention, rather than a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. The stage of unconsciousness can last many years, or even a lifetime. Some people may never feel the need to question their existence more deeply or seek meaning beyond the material world, and that's perfectly acceptable. Each soul has its own path and rhythm of evolution. However, for many, there comes a time when old certainties begin to crumble. This can be triggered by a personal crisis, such as the loss of a loved one, a serious illness, or a significant failure. Or it may arise more subtly, as a growing dissatisfaction with the status quo, even when everything seems to be going well externally. This moment of discomfort and questioning marks the transition to the next stage of spiritual awakening: the death of the ego. The death of the ego. The second stage of spiritual awakening is often the most challenging and disturbing. It's characterized by a deep internal crisis, where the structures that previously gave meaning and stability to the person's life begin to disintegrate. It's important to clarify that the death of the ego doesn't mean the complete destruction of personality or identity. Instead, it refers to a process of dissolving the rigid and limiting identifications that the person has built throughout their life. At this stage, the person begins to seriously question their beliefs, values, and even their own identity. Ideas that previously seemed certain and immutable are now called into question. This can include religious beliefs, political views, social and family roles, and even the very notion of who one is. This process can be extremely uncomfortable and even terrifying. Many people describe this phase as a dark night of the soul, a period of intense confusion, fear, and doubt. It's as if the ground beneath their feet is disappearing, leaving them with nothing solid to stand on. During this stage, it's common to experience a variety of intense emotions. There may be periods of deep sadness or depression as the person faces the loss of old certainties and identities. There may be anger and resentment, especially if the person feels they have been somehow deceived or limited by their old beliefs. There may be fear and anxiety in the face of the unknown that opens up ahead. Often, personal relationships are affected during this stage. As the person changes and questions old ways of being, friends and family may not understand or accept these changes. This can lead to conflicts and even the end of some relationships. However, amidst all this turmoil, there are also moments of clarity and liberation. As old structures dissolve, there's room for new perspectives and insights. The person may have glimpses of a broader reality and a deeper sense of self, beyond the limitations of the ego. It's common at this stage for people to seek new ways of understanding the world and themselves. They may turn to spiritual practices such as meditation, yoga, or prayer. They may explore different philosophical or religious traditions. They may seek therapy or other forms of self-knowledge. An important aspect of this stage is the recognition that much of what we considered as self is actually a construction, a set of thought patterns, learned behaviors, and social expectations. This recognition can be liberating but also frightening. After all, if we are not all these things we thought we were, then who are we really? It's crucial to understand that the death of the ego is not a single event, but an ongoing process. Even after passing through this stage, the person will continue to encounter deeper layers of conditioning and identification throughout their spiritual journey. It's also important to note that this stage doesn't imply completely rejecting the ego or trying to live without it. The ego has an important role in our human experience. The goal is, instead, to develop a healthier and more balanced relationship with the ego, recognizing it as a useful tool, but not as the totality of who we are. As the person navigates through the turbulence of this stage, a new sense of purpose and direction gradually emerges. The old structures may have disintegrated, but in their place arises an ardent desire to discover a deeper truth. This marks the transition to the next stage, the search for truth. The search for truth. The third stage of spiritual awakening is characterized by an intense search for answers and meaning. After going through the turbulence of the death of the ego, the person emerges with a deep desire to understand the true nature of reality and themselves. At this stage, there's an insatiable hunger for knowledge and understanding. The person may find themselves exploring a wide range of spiritual traditions, philosophies, and practices in search of insights and answers. It's common at this phase to voraciously read spiritual texts, attend lectures by spiritual masters, participate in retreats and workshops, and experiment with various meditative practices. The search for truth is driven by deep existential questions. What is the purpose of life? What is the nature of reality? Who am I really? What happens after death? These questions, which previously could be ignored or answered superficially, now become urgent and vital. During this stage, many people experience moments of profound revelation and clarity. Mystical experiences or moments of satori, sudden enlightenment, may occur, where the person has glimpses of a broader reality or their true nature. These experiences, although often brief, can be deeply transformative and motivating. It's common at this stage for the person to develop a regular spiritual practice. This may include meditation, prayer, yoga, contemplation in nature, or any other practice that helps cultivate awareness and connection with something greater than the individual self. These practices become important anchors, offering stability and direction amidst the search. The search for truth can also lead to significant changes in lifestyle. The person may feel the need to simplify their life, abandoning possessions or activities that no longer resonate with their evolving values. There may be a desire to spend more time in nature, to live more sustainably, or to engage in meaningful work that contributes to the well-being of others. However, this stage also has its challenges. The intensity of the search can sometimes become obsessive or unbalanced. The person may become so focused on their spiritual journey that they neglect other important aspects of life, such as relationships, physical health, or practical responsibilities. Moreover, the abundance of spiritual information and traditions available can be overwhelming. It's easy to feel confused or lost amidst so many different options and perspectives. Some people may jump from one practice or tradition to another, never delving deep enough to reap the true benefits. Another common challenge at this stage is spiritual materialism, the tendency to treat spirituality as just another ego achievement, seeking spiritual experiences as a way to feel special or superior. It's important to be aware of this trap and remember that true spiritual growth usually involves humility and the dissolution of the sense of separation, not its reinforcement. As the search progresses, many people begin to realize that the truth they seek cannot be found only in books, teachings, or external experiences. There's a growing understanding that truth must be lived and embodied, not just intellectually understood. This recognition marks a subtle but significant shift. The search begins to turn inward, with an increasing focus on direct experience and self-observation. The person starts to trust more in their own intuition and inner wisdom, rather than relying exclusively on external sources of guidance. Gradually, there's an understanding that the truth being sought is not something separate from oneself, but something that's already present, waiting to be recognized. This realization marks the transition to the next stage, the emergence of the authentic self. The emergence of the authentic self. The fourth stage of spiritual awakening is characterized by a profound process of self-discovery and authenticity. After the intense external search for answers and meaning, the person begins to turn inward, recognizing that the truth they seek is, in fact, within themselves. At this stage, there's a gradual movement away from constructed identities and social masks towards a more genuine expression of the true self. It's a process of unveiling layers of conditioning and social expectations to reveal the authentic essence that has always been present, but often hidden or suppressed. A striking characteristic of this stage is a growing sense of discomfort with anything that isn't authentic. The person may begin to feel a strong aversion to lies, even if small or socially acceptable. There's a deep desire to live in alignment with the inner truth,
even if it means going against social norms or others' expectations. This process of emergence of the authentic self often leads to significant changes in the person's external life. Relationships that
true essence may be reevaluated or ended. Careers that previously seemed important may lose their appeal if they're not aligned with the person's deeper values. New interests and passions may arise,
often surprising the person themselves and those around them. It's common at this stage for the person to feel called to express their creativity in new ways. This may manifest through art, music, writing, or any form of expression that allows the true essence to flow freely. Many people report a feeling that something greater is expressing itself through them, as if they were a channel for divine creativity. An important aspect of this stage is the development of a more compassionate and accepting relationship with oneself. As the person becomes more authentic, there's a greater acceptance of all parts of themselves, including those that were previously rejected or suppressed. This includes acceptance of one's own shadows, the aspects of oneself that are considered undesirable or negative. This deeper self-acceptance naturally leads to greater acceptance of others. There's a growing recognition that everyone is on their own journey, doing the best they can with the level of consciousness they have at the moment. This results in more compassionate and less judgmental relationships. However, this stage also presents its unique challenges. As the person becomes more authentic, there may be periods of loneliness or isolation. Friends and family may not understand or accept the changes that are occurring, which can lead to conflicts or distancing. The person may feel like a stranger in their own world, no longer fitting into old social circles, but not yet having found a new community that resonates with their evolving being. Moreover, the process of becoming more authentic can be scary. Abandoning old identities and behavior patterns, however limiting they may be, requires courage. There's an element of vulnerability in showing the world who you really are, without the protective masks we're accustomed to. Another common challenge at this stage is balancing authenticity with the practical needs of everyday life. The person may feel torn between the desire to live fully aligned with their inner truth and the demands of the external world. Finding a balance between these aspects can be an ongoing process of negotiation and adjustment. As the person navigates these challenges, there's a deepening understanding that being authentic doesn't mean being perfect or having all the answers. Instead, it's about being present and honest with what is, moment to moment. There's a growing acceptance of imperfection and a willingness to be vulnerable and authentic, even when it's uncomfortable. An important aspect of this stage is the development of a deeper connection with intuition and inner wisdom. The person learns to trust more in their own discernment, rather than relying excessively on external guidance. This doesn't mean completely rejecting the advice or wisdom of others, but rather developing the ability to filter external information through one's own inner truth. As the authentic self emerges more fully, there's a growing sense of alignment and flow in life. Actions become more spontaneous and natural, arising from a place of authenticity rather than obligation or expectation. There's less struggle and resistance, and more acceptance of what is. This stage is also often marked by greater sensitivity and openness. As layers of protection and defense are shed, the person may become more sensitive to the energies around them, both positive and negative. This can lead to a greater need for self-care and creating healthy boundaries. A profound aspect of this stage is the growing recognition of the interconnectedness of all things. As the sense of a separate self diminishes, there's an experiential understanding that we're all part of a greater whole. This can lead to a deeper sense of responsibility for the well-being of others and the planet as a whole. As the person becomes more rooted in their authenticity, there's a subtle shift in the quality of their presence. Others may notice a sense of peace, clarity, or integrity that naturally emanates from the person. This quality of presence can have a transformative effect on others. This growing integration marks the transition to the fifth and final stage of spiritual awakening, life in alignment. Life in alignment. The fifth stage of spiritual awakening represents a profound integration and harmony between the inner self and the outer world. At this stage, spirituality is no longer seen as something separate from everyday life, but as the very essence of all experience. Life in alignment is characterized by a sense of flow and naturalness. Actions arise spontaneously from a place of inner clarity and purpose, without the need for excessive effort or struggle. There's a deep acceptance of what is, combined with a willingness to act with compassion and wisdom when necessary. At this stage, the person experiences a profound sense of peace and contentment that doesn't depend on external circumstances. This doesn't mean that life is always easy or free of challenges, but rather that there's a growing capacity to face all experiences, positive and negative, with equanimity and grace. A fundamental aspect of this stage is the dissolution of the separation between self and other, between inner and outer. There's an experiential recognition of the fundamental unity of all existence. This manifests as a deep sense of connection with all forms of life and an intuitive understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. This understanding of unity naturally leads to expanded compassion. The person in the fifth stage feels a deep empathy for all beings, recognizing that the suffering of others is inseparable from their own suffering. This often translates into a natural desire to be of service, to contribute to the well-being of all beings in big and small ways. However, it's important to note that this compassion doesn't come from a sense of duty or obligation, but arises naturally from the recognition of unity. There's no separation between the I who helps and the other who is helped. It's simply life taking care of life. A notable aspect of this stage is the integration of shadows. Previously denied or repressed aspects of the psyche are recognized, accepted, and integrated. There's no longer a division between the spiritual and the non-spiritual, between the high and the low. Everything is seen as part of the totality of human experience, and there's a willingness to embrace all aspects of oneself and life with acceptance and compassion. The person in the fifth stage often exhibits a remarkable quality of presence. There's an inner clarity and quietude that are palpable to others. This presence alone can have a transformative effect, inspiring and uplifting those around without the need for specific words or actions. At this stage, there's a deep trust in life and the natural flow of things. This doesn't mean passivity, but rather an ability to act in alignment with the greater flow of life, without resistance or attachment to outcomes. There's an understanding that everything is unfolding perfectly, even when external appearances suggest otherwise. Creativity at this stage often flows in powerful and unexpected ways. The person may become a channel for ideas and inspirations that seem to come from a source beyond the individual self. There's a sense of co-creation with the universe, where individual actions are in harmony with a greater purpose. An important aspect of this stage is the ability to live fully in the present moment. The past and future lose their dominion over consciousness, and there's a deep appreciation for the richness and fullness of each moment. This doesn't mean that the person can't plan or reflect on the past when necessary, but rather that these activities don't take the person out of rootedness in the now. In the fifth stage, there's a profound acceptance of impermanence and change. The person intuitively understands that everything is in constant flux and transformation. This leads to an ability to let go gracefully, whether it's in relation to material possessions, relationships, or even life itself. It's important to note that even at this advanced stage, growth and evolution continue. There's no endpoint where someone can say, "Now I'm fully enlightened and have nothing more to learn." Instead, there's an ongoing openness to deepen understanding and expand consciousness. Moreover, it's crucial to understand that even those in the fifth stage are still human, with their own idiosyncrasies and challenges. The difference lies in how these challenges are perceived and approached, not as obstacles to be overcome, but as opportunities for further growth and understanding. Life in alignment is not a state of perfection or constant spiritual ecstasy. It's a state of deep acceptance and harmony with what is, combined with a willingness to act with wisdom and compassion when necessary. It's a dance between being and doing, between inner quietude and active engagement with the world. At this stage, the person often becomes a beacon of light for others, inspiring them not through preaching or teaching, but simply through their way of being in the world. Their presence and actions serve as a living reminder of the possibilities for growth and transformation available to all of us. As we conclude our exploration of the 5 stages of spiritual awakening, it's important to remember that this journey is not linear. We may move between stages, sometimes experiencing aspects of various stages simultaneously. Moreover, awakening is not a final destination, but an ongoing process of expanding and deepening consciousness. Each person experiences their spiritual journey in a unique way. Some may pass quickly through certain stages, while others may spend years exploring the nuances of a single stage. There's no right or wrong path. Each journey is perfectly suited to the individual living it. The most important thing is to approach our spiritual journey with gentleness, curiosity, and compassion. Whatever stage we find ourselves in, we can trust that we are exactly where we need to be in our evolution. Each challenge, each insight, each moment of joy or difficulty is an opportunity to grow and expand our consciousness. As we continue on our spiral journey of awakening, we can lean on the wisdom of those who have come before us, the companionship of those who walk beside us, and the guidance of our own inner wisdom. Let us always remember that spiritual awakening is not just about our own transformation, but about our growing capacity to contribute to the healing and evolution of all life. May we all continue to awaken to the truth of who we really are, to the beauty and mystery of existence, and to our deep connection with all life. And in that awakening, may we be a force of love, compassion, and positive transformation in our world.